What up, y'all? Hope y'all glad to see me. It's good to see all of y'all. Peace, love, and abundance. So, if y'all don't know, I've had a show for the past 5 years called It's a Long Story on my Instagram. And I started this most recent season 5, moving the episodes to YouTube. Basically, the past couple episodes I've been talking about women, black women in particular, and black men's relationship with women and capitalism. The program that I graduated from, I've learned quite a bit about capitalism, and I'm continuing to learn more and more about capitalism. The thing about women and capitalism, black women and women in general, I've been learning about a lot my entire life. 30 years, your boy about to be 30. Woo-wee. I've learned that black women suffer the most from capitalism. And I heard a sister talk about this idea of men wanting to impress other men. And that's definitely a thing. We'll get into why that is, but we're going to start off talking about the financial aspect and the different key figures that play different roles and different people's perspective of this situation in our community. So let's start off with Jay-Z. Men trying to impress other men. Okay, so you got Jay-Z, the kind of person that'll say some shit like, oh, I feel like calling me a capitalist is like calling me the N-word. That's not a really good impersonation of Jay-Z. The point is, there are other people who have an issue with people criticizing the capitalist quality traits of people such as Jay-Z, and everybody's like, yeah, real black men just tough it out and get to the bag, and we're not looking for handouts, blah, blah, blah. We saw the bullshit on Twitter of, would you rather get $500,000 or have dinner with Jay-Z? And there was a lot of people trying to impress other men by showing just let me show you how much I'm a real man and won't get a handout. I would rather take the dinner with a stranger than $500,000, which could probably change my family life and predicament instantly. And as we saw, the account from Tidal, which we know Jay-Z was the owner of, said, take the 500,000. So with that being said, even the person who models after that neoliberal capitalist bullshit spoke directly against it. And also, while we're on that page, let's make it clear, Jay-Z, Brett Favre bitch ass, and so many other black people end up getting what is technically a handout. They ask for money, whether that's from the government or whether that's from private funders. These motherfuckers are asking for money, and they make thousands of times more money than any of the people who you're trying to convince to try to let me impress these other men and show them that I'm not down for getting handouts. So Brett Favre got that PPP loan shit, just like Jay-Z, and Brett Favre got that shit, or some sort of, maybe it wasn't PPP, but it was some sort of government assistance that was in the poorest state in the country, Mississippi, right? And I'm sure he, just like many other people, were talking shit to those people saying, yeah, you guys need to do better and bootstrap and blah, 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 because this is why you guys are in the predicament you're in. The NFL, I have not known about any of this shit because I'm not into sports, and we'll get into men's role in sports and all of that shit, and men trying to impress other men with that shit. Basically, if it wasn't for this whole shit with the Arlington Heights Bears shit, I wouldn't even have known this. But if y'all didn't know, when the NFL, especially the NFL, but when those sports leagues or whatever, when they come to cities and try to build a new stadium, they ask the city for money, even though the city is supposed to be using that money for public services for the fucking citizens. Instead, you got some fucking bread and circus bullshit asking for money. Now, if you know anything about history, you know bread and circuses is important, but it's important to be the opposite of what it is now, which is something people obsess over. It's not supposed to be something that people obsess over. It's supposed to be something that takes your mind off of the craziness of life or the stress of life. It's entertainment and nothing else, to quote Kanye West. There's just this general concept of handouts and you shouldn't get money from the government and blah, blah, blah. Once again, if you know about history and you know how this country works, you pay taxes every year. So it's not you relying on the government. That's like saying you went into a restaurant, paid at the cashier, and you're waiting for your food, and the cashier is just looking at your ass like, why are you relying on me to feed you? It's like, I just fucking paid you. And as far as taxes are concerned, we don't choose to pay taxes. And once again, if y'all paid attention in school, no taxation without representation. If motherfuckers is gonna exist as a government to protect and provide services for us, they're gonna fucking provide services for us, or else we do have the right to protest and speak out against that shit. Speaking of which, let's talk about back in the day, the 2008 housing crash. What did those companies get? They got bailouts. Bailout is what the government calls it. I call it a handout. And historically, public federal assistance has always existed, but to help white people only. When you look at food programs, whether that's school lunch or shit like welfare, that was to help poor whites. And take it a step further, let's talk about the Trail of Tears Homestead Act, where white people literally robbed motherfuckers, stole not just land, but the actual material in people's houses. They went into Native Americans' houses, made them leave, and then they gave that free housing and free land away to white people. I'm gonna take it a step further. Slavery. When slavery ended, white people got reparations, keyword reparations. White people got reparations for the fucking slaves that they couldn't use anymore. So they were already getting free labor. That's a handout that they forced people to give them. And the government said, we're sorry that all the slaves got human rights now. You always have human rights. You're born with that. But now we acknowledge as the United States government that these black people are going to have human rights, at least to some degree, that we recognize to some degree. So sorry, we going to give y'all some money. In France, when the Haitians, shout out to the Zoes, when they beat the fuck out of the French said, oh, okay, y'all want y'all independence, huh? We gonna make sure that y'all are in debt to us. So they got reparations for the Haitians getting their freedom. So it makes me think about, the fact that I've had so many different signs when I was like homeless, or when I was like moving between Chicago and Minnesota. I had signs that said, one sign that said, help me get to Minnesota. When I was in Minnesota and I was too broke to come back home, I had a sign that said, help me get to Chicago. I even had a sign that said 420 celebration fund, where I was gathering money to smoke weed on 420. I made money off every sign. You wanna know what sign I didn't make money off of? I had a sign that said available for labor. Right? I stood outside with the Migos outside of Home Depot on 83rd, 87th. And you know what a lot of people did? They drove past me. They honked their horns. They gave me my respect. They was like, oh yeah, you a real man. You a hard worker. Everybody was impressed by me. Nobody picked me up to give me a job at all. Guess what? When I had to help me get the Minnesota sign, I actually got picked up by some rednecks, not in that crazy way, but some rednecks picked me up on 103rd and Holster, right by the fucking Harold's Chicken right there. And it was like, hey man, we need an extra guy to help us do this job. They were doing a moving job. I didn't even do that much work and I got paid, you feel me? And that's the thing, like, that day when I had the available for labor, a dude pulled up and smoked weed with me. He was like, hey man, you a real nigga. Yeah, man, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna smoke with you. He didn't put me on for no work, but he smoked with me and gave me a bunch of respect. See where I'm going here? That shit don't mean shit. So I don't give a fuck about impressing other men. By the way, I'm a heterosexual. I'm not trying to fuck other men, by the way. So I don't understand why y'all motherfuckers who supposed to be so goddamn macho, y'all are proving to be macho to impress other men. But we gonna get into why that is. Well, there's many reasons, but we gonna get into one of the main reasons a little later. Stay put. So another thing in my journey of poverty to success and wealth, people heavily criticize me. Not people, some people, mainly my father, really just my father, who he's one of them neoliberal, bootstrap, blah, 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 bureaucrat, all that nonsense ass bullshit. And he criticized me heavily for having a link card. What his ass fails to admit and understand is that in order to have a link card, especially in the state of Minnesota, if you are a single, able-bodied, childless, non-senior adult male, You have to have a job to get link. Which means two things. Number one, obviously, I'm not relying on the government, asshole, because I'm doing work as well as getting the fucking benefit or whatever. But the second thing that shows you is by the government requiring me to have a job, they're literally saying that I'm also required to have link in order to have a job. They're admitting that having a job is not enough. Moving towards employment, the employment aspect of my journey from poverty. Another criticism my fucking father had was he was just trying to tell me he's one of them just get a job, any job type motherfuckers. And I'm like, no, I'm not about to get a job unless I know somebody who like is connected to that job. I know how much I'm going to get paid. I know something about the atmosphere. I'm a shoe in, so that I'm not wasting my time just randomly. That's time and effort. I should put all that effort strategically into something that's going to have a more high likelihood of a return on my investment. This asshole is saying, what's the pride in that? And the key word is pride, because he's trying to guilt me into feeling bad about that strategy. But I'm like, fuck that. You sound stupid. I don't give a fuck about impressing you. I know y'all like, oh man, you got a lot of deep-seated anger and aggression. I do. Because both of my parents are kind of like that. They have really shitty, old-timey, problematic views that contribute to their own detriment and the detriment to our people. You know what I'm saying? As citizens and all of that shit. Now, what the fuck else was I finna say? Your boy Elon Musk got $5 billion from the government. That's the other thing. People talk about don't rely on the government. Motherfucker, you pay taxes every year. No taxation without representation. My money, when I pay tax money, it goes to government-funded projects, some of which is a lot of this SpaceX nonsense that this motherfucker is failing on, by the way. But you motherfuckers is telling me I can't require the government to hold up their end of the bargain and promote and invest in social programs to help us all. Go fuck yourself. Also, rest in peace, my brother Fabian. It reminds me of a time where I was, once again, homeless, and he invited me and two other friends. All three of us didn't know each other, but we all knew Fabian. And I think it was unwritten, unspoken that motherfuckers knew I didn't have money. But at the end of the day, at the end of the meal, Fabian and one of his homies, and the third friend, by the way, is a woman. So you could say that he was trying to impress her. But at the end of the day, my bro and his other bro, they're arguing over who's gonna pay the bill. He like, nah, bro, I got it. The other, like, nah, bro, I got it. Like, nah, bro, I got it. I'm sitting there completely quiet because no matter who wins, I'll win. You know what I'm saying? I don't give no fuck about impressing nobody about shit. Fuck that. That shit goofy as hell. That's not to disrespect them or nothing, but I'm just saying, like, man. Anyway, all of this shit can more or less boil down to also the whole Kanye. Let's this real quick. The whole Kanye saying you don't got the answer, Sway. Y'all do remember that whole argument was based on Kanye West looking for handouts. He was looking for people to fund his vision, fund his project. Who's gonna be the Medici family to help me out and fund my dreams? And then Sway telling them, hey, why don't you try to do the funding yourself? Why don't you try to do something from a more, independent approach? Which ironically is kind of like telling you to do the shit yourself, bootstrapping, but the motherfucker Kanye represents the class of right-wing, conservative, weird niggas that want to promote capitalism and shit. But ironically, these motherfuckers is begging white people for money. That's what I'm saying. Stop listening to these motherfuckers, bro. I need y'all to understand that these motherfuckers, you gotta be willing to listen to yourself. You need to get in tune with your star motherfucking player. As motherfucking Cal Williams said. Like, believe in yourself instead of believing in these clown ass motherfuckers. These artists, these rappers, these singers have always looked at women as commodities. From music, from motherfuckers like R. Kelly, you remind me of my Jeep, to motherfuckers like Jeremiah, body like a Benz. Now, unless they're saying these women are fat, which I'm sure they're not, for you to compare a woman's body to that of a car, all you're essentially doing is putting that value on the same level. You're saying this is a commodity to show how well I'm performing capitalism. This is a commodity to show how well I am surviving and thriving in the system of capitalism, rather than a fucking human being. And because they view women as commodities, that goes hand in hand with that put a woman in a woman's place bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And that goes hand in hand with what I said before. The concept of the bad bitch is rooted in capitalism, because it's women using their bodies and their looks to gain this, that, and the third, and thus being seen as lazy. But it's like you're seeing them as lazy, or why are women getting everything? It's like, motherfucker, you're not allowed. The motherfuckers that think in that old timey ass way, they're not allowing a woman to work and they're expecting her, or the woman is expecting to be given gifts and vacations, and the dude is expecting to have to do that. And therefore, that man is bearing the full burden of capitalism, versus a woman having her own life, her own personality outside of being my lady. And like I said, I'm not a feminist, but I'm not a misogynist. You're a woman, but that also means you're an adult. These motherfuckers that's talking about, bootstrapping, everybody that's grown gotta do for theyself. So why are you okay with taking care of an unemployed, able-bodied adult? And if you believe in polygamy like a lot of you losers do, you're taking care of multiple unemployed, able-bodied adults. And that's why prenup exists, because just in case shit falls through, that woman has to have some sort of social safety net, in order to make sure she's not fucking homeless. And that's your fucking fault. Now, I'm about to make a lot of motherfuckers pissed. If I haven't pissed motherfuckers off yet, it's definitely about to get real spicy henceforth. A lot of people talk about this alleged gay agenda, but what people have to understand is, number one, we gotta stop saying gay agenda, because that tries to make it seem like it's a thing against gay people or whatever, or it has something to do with gay people. And just like Dave Chappelle said, this is about black shit. There really is a liberal agenda, which also has offset of the conservative agenda. And within the liberal agenda, there are multiple aspects of making black men and black women useless to each other, or looking at each other as not the most ideal mate, or somehow reducing our numbers, reducing our potency. I'm gonna show you how this shit works. So with the whole gay agenda, it's not just black men looking soft, or black men not being able to procreate in that respect, but it goes in tandem with this constant showing of white men with black women, because white men have historically gone all over the world to acquire black indigenous women, because they view women like the other things they stole, land, minerals, artifacts, as commodities. So every time you on YouTube and you see a commercial, I literally seen I haven't just been seeing commercials with this pushed image of white men with black women, but I literally saw a commercial where it's this little white boy, and he's got a pin of a black girl on his chest, and he's having like a snack or whatever with a black dude across the table, and he just straight up says, "Mr. Johnson, your daughter is a good kisser." And it's supposed to be like a funny, oh, look, he owned him. Oh, he's bold. And it's like, they're trying to get bolder and bolder now, trying to say like, look, we want black men to know, like, y'all daughters are ours. Like, this was our plan from jump. We want black men to be out of the picture. Whether we got y'all snapping y'all fingers or trying to be a woman or whatever, or we'll just have black women look at white men as more of a likely candidate for, your affection. The conservative agenda, on the flip side, makes black men look like threats, or like they're useless to women. They push this image of us being thugs and being bums, and also in general, just kind of making a society where it's very difficult to make fucking money, and systematically design it for a man such as myself to resort to crime at least once every blue moon. And then it makes black women look low quality to black men. So that's when they push the image of welfare queen and hood rat and all of that shit. Now, it doesn't just stop there, because the liberal agenda there is a section for everything. There's health, housing, culture, all of that. And we're just going to do a little bit because I don't want this video to be too long. So for example, for health. So the liberals, they, as far as health is concerned, they want people to think it's okay to be lazy. They want people to think it's okay to not work out, to eat unhealthy foods, so that we're okay being sick, so that we're okay being shiftless, so that we're okay being, sloppy. And the conservative agenda, as far as health, they make healthcare astronomically expensive. They make it hard to access. They cause black people to experience the most disrespect, the hardest, most painful outcomes in the healthcare industry. So there's that. Oh, let's talk about culture. You got the conservative agenda, of course, which is just to either at first their old agenda was make black culture look as bad and as negative and as you guys are thugs, to do that as much as possible. Now their agenda is just to co-opt our leaders. Figures such as Kanye West, Killer Mike, fucking Ice Cube talking about, I want to meet with Trump. You feel me? These is all motherfuckers that used to be on our side type shit. The liberal agenda with culture is to erase to take all the black culture, take all of our sayings, all of our hashtags, all of our dances, and just erase us from the picture. Try to say, oh, that's Twitter culture, or that's urban culture, or, just share it. We're not appropriating it, blah, 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 blah. They're trying to gentrify our timeline, just like they gentrify our city blocks. Moving forward, as far as them co-opting our leaders and shit, I refuse to let them soft-ass motherfuckers try to make me feel bad about myself. First of all, they get on these podcasts and shit. They don't encourage. They insult. The whole stay focused. Yeah, we got to stay on our purpose and all of that shit. That's always usually directly anti-women. It's always like stay focused and don't it's always like in an old-timey Christian way, like an Old Testament Shakespearean, thou shalt avoid the harlot of the night. There's always that kind of context, rather than just, discipline is a good thing to have, without having it be like, yeah, you should be disciplined because fuck these bitches. You know what I'm saying? And I've been there before. I feel like as a man, we've all been in that kind of mind frame before. But come on, G, it's not that serious, and we supposed to love women. Also, all of the terminology is just corny. Like, are y'all motherfuckers Power Rangers? Y'all up here talking about Alpha and Beta and Sigma. Are you niggas in a fucking fraternity? You motherfuckers are stomped. Y'all stomp the yard mouth ass out of it. So you got Alpha, Beta, Sigma. Nigga, what's next? The Thetas. Who's that peeping in my window? The stinking ass 7-year champs mouth ass. But anyway, all of this shit is corny, and I want everybody to understand that the origin of all this shit is a bunch of white people that don't have your best interests at heart. All that alpha beta shit either comes from two sources. Like I've said this before, it's either that book called The Wolf, and the author of that book came back and said, I was wrong about that alpha wolf, beta wolf shit. It's just parents. It's just the wolves that are older are the leader of the pack, and then the younger wolves follow. There's no alpha and beta. But in the Greek culture, allegedly, alpha and beta was top and bottom, meaning the older man of more status would be the penetrator of the younger man of less status, the beta. So y'all motherfuckers gay wolves. No, but I'm just fucking with y'all. But that is what that shit is, and y'all motherfuckers are tweaking. But I'm not trying to be offensive to motherfuckers, but I swear y'all motherfuckers sensitive. They so sensitive. But anyway, so as y'all can see, I changed my name on Instagram to James Randy Orton, because James Randy, he exposed scams and fake psychics and shit, and Randy Orton is known as the Legend Killer. Oh, that was his move. I think he was called the Legend Killer. And I think his signature move was called the Legend Killer. And the purpose is a lot of our heroes and all of that shit. These motherfuckers, you know, rest in peace, rest in power. But a lot of them was problematic as shit. For example, like Haile Selassie. People like Haile Selassie, even Marcus Garvey was pro-capitalism. Massa Musa, and yes, I said Massa Musa. Because a lot of these characters, how the fuck do you think they amassed all the wealth? Do you not think that Mansa Musa didn't own slaves? He owned slaves, motherfucker. He was getting down just like the same. Bro, millionaires and billionaires are not sustainable. Like, there's no way anybody can amass that much wealth, that much power, that much reverence without fucking somebody in their anus. I'm telling you. Somebody's getting fucked over if somebody's making that much money. I'm not against wealth. I'm not against prosperity. I'm not against abundance. I'm against the misunderstanding of abundance. This land we have is so vast. We all can make enough for us all to live a good life. But y'all motherfuckers are looking at the fucking model of slavery and colonization. There is no capitalism without colonization and slavery. It's just not. I don't know what the fuck y'all think this is, but fuck out of here. All the rest of these characters, like for instance, Tony Robbins is no different than Mobutu Sese Seko, somebody that used the concept of bullying people, humiliating people. So I don't really know too much about Mobutu Sese Seko, and I didn't know too much about Tony Robbins. And I learned about both of them around the same time. And it's crazy because I'm like, they both on similar shit. This motherfucker Tony Robbins, who's supposed to be a motivational speaker, this motherfucker telling people, I fucked your wife last night. Like, what the fuck, bro? And it's like, people want to use, once again, that's using a woman's sexuality or a woman as a commodity to try to, yeah, look at me, I'm shitting on you. And it's like, that shit goofy. And that's another thing. All these hip hop artists and other people that got lyrics that's bragging about all the ways that they abuse, harm, finesse, and mislead people, especially women. Even songs that talk about rape and pimping and all of that shit. Like, for instance, this man Biggie, one of his most popular songs, he talking about fucking a child in the ass and killing them, G. And that's one of his most popular songs. Also, I'm in Minneapolis some years ago. I had a phase where I really listened to funk music a whole lot. And Brother's Gonna Work It Out, Brother's Gonna Work It Out was a song I used to like biking to. I'm biking. I stop, wait on the bus. For whatever reason, this old head decides to strike up a conversation with me because he's, you know, a lot of old heads out there, when they heard me playing shit like that, they were, yeah, young man, you listening to some real music. You a real, all of that shit, right? Once again, I'm not necessarily concerned with impressing motherfuckers, but I'm very glad to make a connection. But here's where the impressing shit goes south. So this motherfucker, since the song Brother's Gonna Work It Out is a song from The Mac, a movie called The Mac. So obviously it's a movie about pimping and shit. So this old motherfucker is like trying to tell me some story about back in his day about, yeah, you know, he trying to tell me some shit, I guess trying to impress me about how he's like, I don't remember the story exactly, but it was some story where he was talking about being disrespectful, like to a woman or some shit, and I was supposed to be impressed by it. I was trying to like not talk to this motherfucker to begin with, so I definitely was ignoring his ass when he started to talk about that shit. Y'all motherfuckers need help. But also, motherfuckers love to talk about abusing people and then hate the fucking result of the abused person, especially women. Motherfuckers will hate a woman who acts like a bitch or whatever, not even knowing she probably was raped, went through all type of crazy shit. I know for a fact, for example, I love my mother, but my mother has been very terrible to a lot of people very close to her, especially me. And, you know, I know she's been through that type of shit. And I'm more mad at the fucking society we live in that create that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, people talked a lot of shit about Rihanna and the type of music she was making, but they forgot what she was on prior to the music she made. She got fucking beat the fuck up publicly. You feel me? And her abuse was made public against her will. So you got a bunch of people, you feel me, on the side witnessing that shit happen. You don't know how the fuck that shit make people turn out. So with that being said, people talk about the new Rihanna and all of that shit. She been through some shit. I don't necessarily condone none of the shit she doing or saying, but that ain't for me to do. I'm here to just point out why the fuck that is. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I was like 18 or 19 and I was much more on the inexperienced side, I said to myself, I'll never date a victim of rape. I wanted to avoid those problems. Boy, was I in for a surprise. I came to understand that that's more often the case than not, unfortunately. That's the society that we live in. I'm not brushing that off. I, in fact, am saying we gotta hold motherfuckers accountable for whatever role you play in that shit. And anybody you know that's on some bullshit, hold motherfuckers accountable. Also, as far as me being inexperienced, that whole body count shit. And if we talking body count, we may as well not just be talking about sexual body count, but violent body count. Of course, the sexual body count is to try to prove you're some sort of man or whatever the fuck. But then you got the fucking violent body count. Back in our big brother and our father's day, you know what I'm saying? When they was gangbanging, if your name ring bells back in the day, it was because you was moving serious weight. You was jugging something serious. You feel me? But nowadays, and of course it was killers that got a name back then. But what I'm saying is, nowadays, when was the last time you heard of a motherfucker and they was like, oh damn, that motherfucker be getting money. He famous because he getting money. Everybody in like the past 10 years in Chicago especially, that's a gangster that's named been ringing bells. It's because the motherfucker's a serial killer. You feel me? They like, that nigga got a lot of bodies. You feel what I'm saying? That's crazy. Like now, we think it's some sort of badge of honor to prove masculinity and that way as well. That shit fool. Also, something that I have been a victim of and also a perpetuator of, and I feel terrible for the times where I've been a perpetuator of, is this Will Smith and motherfucking KRS-One shit. A lot of times people want to not be seen as weak people. Men want to not be seen as weak. A lot of times men don't want to be seen as weak in front of those that are deemed as weak, which oftentimes means women. But oftentimes it's situations like the Will Smith, Chris Rock shit. Nobody has ever taken Chris Rock seriously. Excuse me, Chris Rock ain't never played a role that was serious. Chris Rock ain't never been in no, you ever see, man, Chris Rock really, you feel me? Chris Rock is much smaller than Will Smith. And he's also just in general a goofy, right? So Will Smith took it very personal on his masculinity ego shit. He's like, I'm definitely not gonna let the, he didn't give any smoke to our knowledge. He's given absolutely no smoke to August Alsina or Tupac or anybody else, motherfucker. Rest in peace. But he wasn't gonna take that shit from Chris Rock, just like KRS-One. KRS-One has beefed with Ice Cube. He's beefed with Poor Righteous Teachers. He's beefed with X-Clan. So how come the only person he ever rushed on stage was the brother from PM Dawn? Rest in peace. Because unlike one of these things is not like the other. The brothers from PM Dawn, they made that esoteric, smooth, softer, alternative hip hop. So that's what it was. It was, I'm not finna let that type of person challenge me. And that's bullshit. Fuck KRS-One. The N in his name stands for nearly. KRS-One stands for knowledge rules supreme over nearly everyone. And the motherfucker and the brother in PM Dawn, all he said was, KRS-One say he a teacher of what? And KRS is like, oh, I gotta put a stop to this. He challenged my knowledge. And it's just like, bro, that's what I mean. That generation and what they deem as appropriate, like masculinity wise, them motherfuckers ain't no more right than the left. You feel me? All these motherfuckers are silly. And these people, these dudes will criticize and attack women instead of systems, or shit, they not going to attack no other men. Think like the bastard piece of shit that killed Asia Womack over a fucking basketball game. He's like, I'm sure the motherfucker can't hoop. Somebody that could really hoop, that was a dude, bust his ass, he's not gonna shoot them. He's not even gonna fucking talk shit probably. But he didn't want to lose to a woman. He a hoe. Jason Shitlick, who has his misplaced anger and talk about things are the result of black women and single mothers and all of that shit rather than systems of oppression. And he's a talking head. He's one of them silly ass, correspondent ass motherfuckers. And them motherfuckers are the worst, especially those that promote shit that's sports related. They try to talk about what masculinity is too. The obsession with sports and to a lesser degree cars, and I'm going to digress a little bit. This is an exception to the rule. Yet, ironically, men have been convinced so much of this that the world we live in revolves around cars. And once again, I've told y'all we need to invest in public transit. Public transit, first of all, let's go back to taxes. Your tax money is supposed to pay for that. Your tax money should not be going to constant construction, which makes traffic less and less, which makes people required to have cars more and more, which puts more and more cars on the road, which makes traffic even more dense, which makes people have to put your funding, your tax money to building roads as well. And everybody does not need to drive. This system creates a necessity for a car, which is fucked up. But anyway, let's get back to sports. This gatekeeping with sports, which first of all, sports should only be entertainment and a great way to stay in shape. There's also gatekeeping for video games. There was the capitalistic influence of the gold rush of video games, which is how there has been this issue of men thinking that they control the concept of you're not a gamer, you're just a whore that found a joystick. First of all, you're only this mad because your entire life is video games, you fucking cornball. Plus, the acquisition of feminine affection, attention, loyalty, or romance as a commodity is a result of capitalism as well. But as far as how we even got to that point with video games and gender is because in the 80s, video games became popular in the early 80s and people were like, ooh, we can make money off this. So there was a crash in 1983 because people was just making any type of trash that they thought that they could make some money from. And thus, the crash then had a resurgence of the video game industry a little later down the line. And upon introduction of video games to the market, they decided to, instead of marketing it as electronics, they decided to market it as a toy. And toys largely historically have been separated by gender. And they said, hey, are we going to make video games a boy toy or a girl toy? Obviously, they went with boys. And it has been an emphasis on boys because it's this, immature version of masculinity that has been promoted. That whole stupid ass Mansers brand of masculinity. That's the type of shit that motherfuckers was promoting with that whole keeping video games this is a boy thing, no girls allowed. And first of all, once again, shout out to my mom, shout out to her for not wanting me to be obsessed with video games and computers. She went about it poorly, as she did with many things, bless her heart. But as I got older, I appreciated what she prevented me from becoming, because it would have been pretty easily. I already had social problems as it is. But anyway, more retarded ass gender role beliefs. This concept that women belong in the kitchen and that's not a man's thing. First of all, motherfucker, cooking involves science, tools, strategy, and dumbass. It's something that we all need to do in order to fucking survive. It's something that I learned, rest in peace, my grandma Lovey. I had to literally take care of her, and she's a picky eater, so it was very good to actually practice on somebody that was going to definitely let me know if it was good or not. I learned how to cook from Google. I just was on Google looking shit up, how to bake, how to fry, age 21. And not to mention, all the most famous chefs are all men. Chef Gordon Ramsay, Chef Emerald, Chef Boyardee, Ratatouille, motherfucker. Like, y'all motherfuckers stupid as hell. Shut the fuck up. I also was raised in a environment that was more or less conservative. I was raised by a mother who, her parents were two old school gangsters turned Christian. So they were always kind of militant and more on the up and up. My father was in the military. His father was in the military. Rest in my grandfather's soul. So It's all about cherry picking. You know, everything old ain't bad and everything new ain't good. I'm about to piss a lot of people off if I ain't pissed people off yet. You've got Christian conservatism on one side, but on the other side, you got what I like to call the party of eating pork, doing heroin, worshiping the devil, and sucking 100 dicks a day. You know what I'm saying? Versus a motherfucker like me who is independent. I don't identify as a centrist or a moderate, but I do properly cherry pick to ensure that the right changes are made and the right things are kept. The right is wrong, but the left is loose. The left is loose, but the right is too tight. You know what I'm saying? And once again, I am here to protect black women. And by women, I do mean cisgendered women. Unfortunately, the concept of transgender politics is completely ironic. If you want to ensure that we protect women, right? Because gender is a fact. I'm sorry. The type of person that would try to say that there's no difference between male and female, those are the same kind of people that say there's no difference between black and white, and there definitely is. Like, the only difference between black and white is skin tone. The only difference between male and female is genital. First of all, if that's the only difference, that's a pretty fucking significant difference. Like, it shapes your entire way of life. How you use the bathroom, whether or not you're able to give birth, whether or not you have to have a fucking visitor every month, as they say. And the difference is real quick as far as male and female. It's like, if I have the potential to grow larger than you, both with my skeletal system and my muscular system, that's a significant natural advantage. Also, one similar, and that's a difference between certain racial groups. Like, there are racial groups that literally their body shape and their form is totally different. Our lips, our nose, our hair, which determines a lot about how our life goes. You know, I can't get my hair cut the same way as you. When it comes to skincare, that's going to be different. Alcohol is also something that's different for males and females, and with race. There's literally the concept of the Asian glow, where Asians metabolize alcohol differently than other races, and women metabolize alcohol differently than men. That's just a fucking fact. Now, let's get into the problems that arise because of this. When it comes to MTF, which is male to female trans women, it's basically women, cisgendered women, being forced to allow men, the historical oppressors, to essentially appropriate the struggle of women, the historically oppressed, or else those women will get treated as oppressors. Not to mention the ability of these men, like I said about physicality, physiological aspects, the ability of these men to physically compete against women, especially via physical combat, and therefore that's a loophole to not being seen as violence against women. On the flip side, for FTM, which is female to male trans men / lesbians, this oftentimes manifests itself as women, cisgendered women, or women, people who are assigned woman or female at birth, wanting a piece of male privilege / the ability to perpetuate male dominance, promiscuity, misogyny, overall obnoxious behavior, etc., which seems to be promoting the very thing women suffer from, i.e. objectifying women, treating women as sexually disposable, saying things like suck my dick and other public displays of stereotypical Western male behavior, i.e. Lori Longfoot saying publicly that she got the biggest dick in the city. That would be disgusting for anybody to say, male or female. To get rid of that type of toxic masculinity, why would you perpetuate that type of toxic masculinity? Also, one of the biggest arguments against anybody having an argument against anything LGBT is that insert thing here has always existed. That's not a relevant argument because that can apply to endless things. For example, see that thing back there? What's your views on gun laws? I'm not going to tell you what my views on gun laws are. I really don't want to get into that shit. But I could say gun laws have always been loose because weapons have always existed and people have always been slow to have legislation around them. I'm not saying that's a good argument. I'm saying it's the same argument as saying, oh, well, this kind of person has always existed. Which brings me to the second thing. B, no one can prove what has always existed, because there's no human being that's existed since the beginning of time that can account for that shit. Now, I'm done talking about that LGBT shit. That's the last time I'm gonna talk about that shit probably ever. Anybody that asks me about that shit, I'm gonna just refer you to this video, because I don't got time for y'all last. In fact, when it comes to these podcasters and men in general, we all need to move on some passive until prompted shit. Meaning, these podcasters and they lost fatherless children are not being prompted to talk about the shit they talk about. Sure, there's freedom of speech, but don't abuse that freedom. That's what a liberal does. We need to be assertive with our actions. Not aggressive, but not passive aggressive. First of all, most situations don't require you voicing your opinion anyway. You know that Will Smith, let's go back to the brother Will Smith. You know that Will Smith meme where it's like this, where he's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like my mom taught me, you gotta see things and not see things. Meaning, everything don't require your opinion. Everything don't require, like these motherfuckers going on rampages and tirades talking about, they're ruining society or whatever. If you don't want to raise your kids to do that shit, if you want to not have your children participate in certain shit, that's your right. If you don't want to participate in certain shit, that's your right. But to just be disrespectful to motherfuckers, that's unnecessary. Now, let's go back to this whole men trying to impress other men. Now, it is an unfortunate fact that men are in control of most resources, and a lot of the men that are in control of resources are terrible men. Usually terrible white men, but not always white men, but oftentimes terrible men in general. And they have control over the resources that we all need. So in order to survive, many men do their best to impress men in power / take on the character traits of many men in power. Have mercy on many men. Trust in yourself that you'll be all right though, without being a piece of shit to people who've done nothing to you. And you don't always gotta be a fucking follower. It is a defense mechanism to do the thing that the people around you are doing. For example, you ever yawn because somebody around you yawned? The reason for that is because when the human body recognizes that air is being forced, because that's what a yawn is. When you start to lose, consciousness because you're getting tired, you're getting bored, your respiration is slowing down, and a yawn is basically forcing oxygen into your lungs to try to get you to stay awake. When the human body recognizes that other human beings near it is doing that, it'll do that as well to try to be like, hey, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but motherfuckers around you is trying to stay awake. So you need to do the same thing. So people need to focus on being more self-aware and why they do the shit that they do. And that's the thing. A lot of people are not self-aware, and that goes both ways, no pun intended. So first of all, on one hand, you got shit like this little boy that I saw on the bus a while back. It was a little boy on the bus. This young man was saying A, B, C, D, E, F, G, just saying his ABCs all as long as he was on the bus, right? Nobody was saying anything, especially not his mom. And I know what some of y'all are thinking, bro, it's not that serious. Let that little boy sing his ABCs. My thing is, that little boy may unfortunately grow up being not self-aware. He may grow up in a society, and once again, some of y'all may be saying, we should have a society where everybody can do whatever the fuck they want and not be bothered. Spoken like a true liberal. The society should not be everybody doing whatever the fuck they want. We should be in a society where we are free to have the ability to access resources in safety. That's it. We shouldn't have the ability to do whatever the fuck we want. Because trust me, that's a slippery fucking slope. So he might grow up being somebody that runs into a lot of fucking brick walls. Because his entire, if that's what the fuck you get away with in public, I can imagine what the fuck your mom lets you get away with at home. Then you got, on another hand, people like Elliot Rodger, which is the piece of shit asshole white boy who was an incel. And if y'all not sure or unaware what an incel is a combination of the word involuntary and celibate. People basically that's not beating buns. They are called incels. And it was some lame ass dude. If y'all see what the fuck Elliot Rodger looked like, I'm not here to judge dudes, but come on. If you look at this little white boy, he live in California, I'm sure it's a million white boys that look just like him that have absolutely no problem pulling women. So obviously it's something that's probably wrong with him. He could be not fresh, whether that's body odor or he can't dress, bars, or just some sort of, psychological problem that the little motherfucker got. And this issue with people just trying to force people to be with you. You got so many people on this earth. You don't have to try to force. I don't care how fine somebody is. Go other places, which is an ironic thing too. These podcasting passport bros. Like, I'm gonna go to another country because the women here are too westernized and modernized. First of all, multiple ironies with that. Number one, getting out more is definitely important to do. And if you got out more enough to realize that maybe the problem is you, maybe you wouldn't be trying to go clear across the country. Two, because the problem is you may end up going to another country and running into the same problems. Side note, you cannot run from your problems. Also, more irony, how the fuck are you gonna say that women are culturally westernized and modernized? What the fuck are you? Are you a time traveler and you feel me? You are exempt from that type of situation as well somehow? But here's the irony that proves you aren't. You are so westernized that you're so privileged that you think in order to solve your problems, you can just up and leave the country you live in. The women you're trying to go search for, ironically, and this is the evil thing about you pieces of shit, they do not have the freedom to everybody around the world don't have the freedom to just run from their problems via getting a passport and just hopping on a plane. So fuck you. Just learn more though. Learn more, asshole. Read a fucking book. Also, no matter how abused, hurt, offended, disappointed, or repulsed I've been by women, and it's been a lot, family, relationships, classmates, landlords, strangers, etc., I will never give up on love. And I'm a heterosexual, so I'll never give up on women. Yes, there are many women who do terrible things and make terrible decisions that I don't approve of, but I'm not going to go out of my way to talk down on women. It's not a good look. Chill out. Especially when I have not met all women. You have not met all women. You haven't, bro. And that's the thing. Like, for you to say you're going to go leave and go to another country, why don't you go? Like, I live in Chicago. Like, I live in Hyde Park. It's a bunch of people, different ass people in the neighborhood I live in alone. But I live on the south side. If I want to see some different shit, I could go to the north side. I could go to the west side. You feel me? I could go downtown. Everybody don't got that situation. But I'm saying, motherfucker, like, some people do. And then be the motherfuckers that's so blind to that reality and thinking, man, I gotta leave the country and get because people not listening to me. Like, man, go fuck yourself. Plus, oftentimes motherfuckers count out all the times in which they've had good experiences with people that don't fit that narrative, nor account for all the energy they've drawn to themselves via their interests. Going back to the original shit I was saying on the start of this series. Just chill, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's all type of shit I've seen that made absolutely no sense as far as like matchups. Like, I've seen dudes with women where I'm just like, how the fuck? You know what I'm saying? So trust me, somebody is out there feeling you somewhere. Stop acting all woe is me. Like, trust me, shut the fuck up. You'll be okay. Just chill, bro. Do more, say less. Maybe that's masculinity. Anyway, the last episode I said, many men seem pressed because women have more options now. But focus on the fact that men have more options now too. You know, you can judge liberalism and modernism all you want, but it has caused us to have way less homogenized mainstream neolithic or monolithic, I should say, you know, cultural norms. You know what I'm saying? I have a way easier time with women than I did prior, and that I probably would have had in like prior generations, you know? So people should be more open to that. You know what I'm saying? The only people that have a problem with that is the men that want to dominate, the men that want all the women to themselves, and the men that want, you know, to get with women without putting in work. Motherfuckers that seem entitled. You know what I'm saying? And motherfuckers that's, once again, too stupid to understand that everything new ain't bad. Everything old ain't bad. Everything new ain't good. Everything old ain't good. You got to cherry pick and see, you know, what conservative, what liberal, what new shit, what old shit should go, what shit should stay. You know what I'm saying? If you care more about controlling me than controlling yourself, you're not a conservative. And if you care more about your freedom to speak than my freedom to disagree, you're not a liberal. Once again, the left is loose, but the right is too tight. You know what I'm saying? the atmosphere is more open now. So it's just like when I was working in Minneapolis and I had managers that smoked meth. Like, obviously, if I don't support meth, but if we got managers that smoke meth, obviously my black ass can smoke weed and it won't be a big deal. For example, we got on a dating shit, we got all this weirdo shit, all this transgender shit, you know what I'm saying? Hey, it is what it is. And instead of getting mad at that shit, I'm looking at it like, if motherfuckers is accepting this shit, they gotta accept me. You feel me? All my Afrocentric fucking, you know what I'm saying, militant shit, crazy wild trolling shit. So just get in where you fit in, figure some shit out, man. It's really not that serious. Peace, love, and abundance. Check out my music. Check out all the other videos I got on this page. The Public Enema, man. Know what I'm saying? Peace, love, and abundance. I love y'all. Love yourselves. Love others. You know what I'm saying? Be fair in this motherfucker.